Developing now in Hampton, a cemetery moving hundreds of graves of veterans, and some loved ones of those buried at Hampton Memorial Gardens tell us they were never told when it was happening. 13 News Now reporter Megan Puryear joins us live with answers from management.
David, that's right. Now, we talked to family today who says that they were completely shocked that the move was happening today. Now, if you take a look here behind me, you can see the partition that's up, which was hiding all of the activity. So we went to get some answers. Where light touches each tombstone and flowers stretch high, peace lives.
Even after all this time, you still want to remember those who passed on.
Lynn Dameron's parents, Whitmore and Betty Dameron, have rested at Hampton Veteran Memorial Gardens for decades now. The World War II veteran and his wife remain together in a mausoleum. But now a large partition wraps the tombs while crews move in and out. Dameron says the bodies of 300 people are getting transferred to a new mausoleum today.
People are going to be surprised when they find out that they're doing it right now.
Dameron says he got a letter in April from management saying the veterans mausoleum had structural issues and the bodies would be shifted to a new mausoleum. But Dameron says he was never informed of when it might take place, and now he's worried about where his parents will go.
I got to find out where they're going to go. You can't just yank people out of their graves.
Dameron says it's no coincidence and thinks it has to do with the city's plan to extend Coliseum Drive from Hampton Road Center Parkway to Butler Farm Road. The proposed 4-lane road would sit between a neighborhood and Hampton Veteran Memorial Gardens, but officials with the Memorial Gardens say the projects are not connected and the move is necessary.
Certainly, it's good that they are being removed and taken to a more secure structure.
But Dameron wishes management had explained when and where the transition would take place.
I had to go to the courts to determine when they were going to be able to do this.
Management confirmed they put in a court order because of structural damage and issues with the roof, forcing the removal of the remains to a new mausoleum. Now, Dameron isn't sure when the project will be completed. When we asked Memorial Gardens, they had no comment. Live in Hampton, I'm Megan Puryear, 13 News Now.